Perfect. Yeah. We'll make that a goal. And really, the goal is that this is a meeting that will make money because I can put something online. I mean, Gumroad is so fast and so easy that as long as I have a green light from you, which is in a way what this whole thing is for, and basically, like, this will be the kind of thing where you are so happy with it that you want to send it to your friends, basically. I mean, right? And to whoever in your network. This is the kind of thing that we want it to be fit for public consumption, essentially, for our public, for our people. And that's who we want to serve. So absolutely. I started on that, the simplification of modules 1 through 6, and then like a few lessons for each, like 4 to 6 lessons for each. And in a way, what we're doing is like this is like a mini, it's like a test run essentially over time, this meeting and hopefully future ones, where we just hammer out the super basic points that we want to get across to our people by essentially getting them across to each other, if that
Okay.
makes sense. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So what can I say? Heart of Gold. So we had gossip and growth, which Anna was like, I think gossip is like a weird word. And then Louise and Derek said that. And so, but it's all the same concept. It's just what's the marketing. And so Heart of Gold is something we came to. We did Candle and Bonfire, and then we came to Heart of Gold also. And the idea of Heart of Gold is in this question of judgment. How do we judge each other? How can we become better at judging each other? And how judging each other actually is the first step to molding each other. Is that okay so far?
Yes.
So,
I'll mute myself because I have crazy construction in the background.
oh,
Go ahead, Mom. Go ahead, please.
so do we start with ourselves or ourselves? Because judging each other,
Yeah.
can we remember that text messages
Yeah.
back and forth to
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah. 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 So sure, because you asked it this way and you have a specific answer you want, which is um, yes, our own selves, not other selves. If I'm remembering correctly, that was the answer you wanted to that question that you just asked. Because you asked this question 2 nights ago and I answered wrong, essentially. And you asked me to give you a different kind of answer, right? That was what the text was.
right? But then now here you mentioned judging each other. So
So I
that
made a
again,
mistake. So again, I made a
you did.
mistake, right? Well, but I mean, but according to you, according to your request, I did not um abide by your request when I just right now said judging each other. So let's just say judging your own self is one of the necessary ingredients for, or you can call, and whatever other word you want to use, evaluate, assess, discern, um, categorize, classify, put on a scorecard. But that thing, that verb, where all those things intersect, judging with love, judging with forgiveness, is the first, is a necessary ingredient for directing your own evolution.
Examining is another word. That sent a quote from Socrates that an unexamined life is not worth living, or something like that.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. And so to push that quote is to say that that's because an examined life becomes better as a consequence of examination when the examination is done the right way.
Mm-hmm.
When you examine right, and again, we're not talking about other people, but we can later if you want, if you accept that. We're talking about ourselves, and because according to your request, so judging ourselves or examining ourselves or examining our lives and the relationship between your life and yourself will also make very clear here
I mean,
is
what does Anna think about this ourselves versus others? Because you've talked to two of you, and I want to make
Yeah,
sure I'm not the only one.
family, just so you know. Oh. Okay.
say hi for us.
Hi.
What's up, D?
Okay. So, the topic of judging ourselves versus each other, right? Like, I think that basically when Kava and I were discussing it, it sounded, we were actually discussing discernment about each other, about other people. And I think that, of course, they relate to each other, discernment about ourselves and discernment about other people. Discernment about ourselves is not a new concept, right? It's very much maybe part of like any sense of like self-reflection, right? Self-evaluation, like we're saying, the Socrates quote. The discernment about each other is what is newer, I think, is different than, and hasn't really been unpacked as much in courses. So that's what that is the part that this would have to offer. I unfortunately am not like caught up on the text between you two, so I don't exactly know, like kind of what you were thinking, Mom, but I think I could probably understand where you're coming from as well. Not sure though, because I didn't get caught up on them.
Basically, it was saying like playing this game of clean stamina either by yourself or with others. And I
Okay.
was saying it seems to me that if we don't bring others to begin with, it's going to take off much easier, more comfortable for people to do it. And then the clarification was that either with themselves or with like Kaveh and you and this coaching program, but not find a family or friend to do it with.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay. So that was the gist of the text message.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. So like you're saying, Mom, it's more palatable if people are more focused on themselves, right? Versus starting to bring other people in their life. Like it gets
Yeah.
it gets complex.
It may become too overwhelming to begin with.
Overwhelming to begin with. Yeah. So the question of self-evaluation, and I do think like, yeah, there's probably a lot that we could do with that would be unique. I just haven't put my mind there yet, actually. I was kind of more thinking about the interpersonal piece myself, or that's like what we had focused on. But yeah, if we all feel in agreement with that, which it sounds like you two are, and I'm on board too, to like just kind of play this out with self-reflection, self-evaluation, I'm happy to proceed with that. It all has value.
And Kaveh, you're okay with that? Because I know you have a universe of, ideas with interpersonal. So
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Well, the good news is it doesn't matter because the system is the same either way. So if the person wants to do it um, on themselves, by themselves, that's fine. If the person wants to do it on themselves with others, be it friends, family, or us, or a therapist, or whoever, that's fine too. It's the same system. And if a person wants to do it to another person by themselves, they can do the same thing, or to another person with a group of people, including or excluding that person themselves. It's all the same system.
Okay. So that's a great news. And I wonder if we just start with ourselves, is it gonna sell more easily?
Uh, um, I don't know, but I think talking about the system will make it clear. Will make that answer sort of
Okay.
emerge,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I would even invite you, even if lightly, to let go of the self-other distinction and just see not the self-other, but the own other distinction, because we're talking about selves in both cases, and this is important for the structure. You're talking about either yourself as an object of scrutiny and judgment and discernment, or the self of another
Okay.
as an object of scrutiny and discernment. And
Same
so
model. Okay.
same model. We're the judges. We're the judges. This is a judgment training program.
Okay.
This is a judgment training program. So it trains you to judge, and it could be used to train you to judge anything, but now we're doing specifically human beings. And then we're doing, if you like, just yourself. But if some people, their issue might be someone else. They may not be the issue in their own life. The issue might be someone else. And so we're leaving it open for that possibility. Maybe you're the issue, maybe you're the problem in your life, maybe it's someone else. And we're going to play the game to find out. I mean, the answer is both always, but it's a matter of, like you say, what you're comfortable. Some people are more comfortable judging other people than judging themselves.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are. Many people are. But is that the right thing?
Yeah, well, you have to do all four. That's actually the point. You're going to be so wherever you start, you're going to end up at all. Are you raising your hand, sweetheart?
No, I'm just.
No, she's just stretching. So I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, I'll just make one last comment. Like when we say we cannot change other people, we can work on changing ourselves. So keep going.
Okay, well, I think that's a very important quote that probably has some, how can I put it? Utility at certain parts of the journey of self-development, but it's definitely not true that you can't change other people. You can kill other people, right? You can kill other people, you can create other people, and everything in between. So as Anna said, everything is adjustable. Okay, so as long as you have access to a person, you can change them. As long as you have access to a person, you can change them. That's what I mean. Well, I think you are like softening into that.
Okay.
So this is for, please, Anna, anything?
Oh, I was just gonna say, well, it's a little bit of a slight, not a tangent, but just like going to the model itself and the outline. I was just thinking about, I was just like having my own separate thought actually, which was like about the polyvagal theory, and it's interesting when we do apply this to ourselves now, like instead of to somebody else, it is the same thing. Like we were talking about, Mom, like we could start to get into this if you guys like, about like which nervous system state you're orienting from when reflecting on yourself as well. So we were talking about it before, like where are you orienting from when you're discerning about somebody else? But now we could apply that to ourselves. So we could start to go through the outline, the model, to, that would be like technically days 2 and 3 if we were doing a 6-day course. That was how we initially said it was, or no, sorry, 5-day, no, 7-day course. Like that could be days 2, 3, was like thinking about the polyvagal theory, and then talking about, when do we orient to ourselves from a fight or flight perspective versus from a freeze perspective? I don't think I've ever like said it or worded it that way before about like self-reflection, but it's going to apply just perfectly. So yeah, very separate thought.
Oh, very good.
No, yeah, we're gonna fold it right in, and you said it. It's like day 2, day 3. Right now, I have it as a 6-day model. Is this noise too much for you guys, or is it okay? I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't hear any noise actually.
Good.
Yeah.
That means this is a very good mic.
Oh yeah, it's like just picking,
because it's only picking up my. Wow, that's amazing because it's fucking loud. It's like.
Yeah, on some programs there's a feature where you can reduce background noise. I wonder if Zoom has that.
Maybe it's on automatically.
Yeah.
So I'll go through a couple slides and then I'll pause and then see where this takes you guys. Ready?
Yes.
So this is for self-help junkies and for personal development nerds. How do you identify? How much of your life is spent trying to improve things, prevent things from getting worse, identify problems, warn others, complain, be resentful or bitter, prevent yourself from being negative, get money, save money, teach, question. So there's a lot of things that we do in life, right? This is a nice kind of, being rewarded. How often are you rewarded in life? How often are you punished in life? This is sort of to orient us to this question of how our life, is going. I'll present a series of proposals and then tie them together. They'll direct us to Heart of Gold, 6 modules with 4 to 6 lessons each, depending on what we decide is the minimum necessary to reliably deliver the small win. That's all you need. You need to get your foot in the door. Once you have that, you have leverage. Most of us do not have our foot in the door with respect to the thing that we need to fix in our life. And so we give up on it or we assign it to someone else. They have to fix it for us. And that gets us off the hook. That's called an excuse, which is also forgiveness. We excuse ourselves, we forgive ourselves, and we orient from a place of excusing ourselves or forgiving ourselves, not bad words. These are subconscious, and we're making them conscious mechanisms where we say we're powerless, we're playing small, I can't do that, I don't have the leverage. And so, but that causes conflict. And so we want to help ourselves and each other move on. That's what we're promising. Small wins, people are going to start feeling themselves moving on, getting over things, processing things, digesting things, etc. So please do share your protests, hesitations, confusion, concerns, etc. I'm not familiar with this is a perfectly fine protest. I think this is dangerous, is also very welcome. Any complaint whatsoever, Zoom is covering some of my stuff. I think you can read it. Sorry, you read it? Basis for challenging our presentation. Better now than later. Let me see if I can make it. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, better. So I can stop there. Anything interesting from what I just said? Anything, any place you want to pause or question, and we're recording this, so it's nice. That way we can go back over it.
I suddenly didn't follow you very well. Like once in the last two slides, I guess the confusion started up. I got a little
Okay.
lost.
Okay. So is
Yeah,
this okay?
Yeah, that was all fine.
Okay. Now I'm asking you how you identify, and I'm giving you a list of things that people that we experience, but the frequency with which we experience or act in these ways that I'm showing you next are arguably how you identify. I identify as someone who gets rewarded. I identify as someone who punishes others. I identify as so if you look at it that way, you can see how much of these do you think apply to you with what frequency during the day or during the month or during the year. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, got it.
So for instance, you might never make fun of someone. Maybe that's something you just never do. So you do not identify as someone who makes fun of others. But maybe there is some value in making fun. Maybe something is missing in your life if you're not challenging others, if you're not correcting others, if you're not you know what I mean, or making fun of yourself, challenging yourself, correcting yourself, pressuring yourself. So these are all things we do to selves, or that selves do to us. Selves reward us. Even like a business is a self, it's a corporation, and I get rewarded with a salary by that self, by that entity called Beverly Anesthesia.
Yeah. So then the point of this slide is to basically sort of start to self-reflect on how I do identify, how I operate in the world, and maybe even to question, it sounds like you're saying, like to question almost the adjustable piece. Like, is there any of this that I might want to adjust?
Precisely. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Because we're easing into actually something I call playing God, or doing God's work, or controlling reality, or influencing reality, which only comes on the far end of witnessing it and then inserting ourselves into it, which is what judgment is. Judgment is inserting ourselves into reality and standing in a position over reality and saying, this is not good enough, or I approve of this. And we've been largely taught to not do that. Like, what do you know? And also check your privilege. So guilt and insecurity have been used as, at least personally, I'll say it personally, I don't want to speak for you. I feel like I have been, through various indoctrination in school and media, disempowered and told to stay in my lane, told to just, study and go to work and do my taxes and don't ask for too much, and this whole thing.
Yeah.
How do we feel, Mom? You're okay?
Yeah.
We're challenging that. We're challenging that. Exactly. In the mind.
For change.
Say it again.
Like to say it's okay to ask for more. It's okay to ask for change. To say like, oh, this element of life isn't serving me. This element of how I'm operating isn't serving me. So I maybe can give myself permission to make change.
And maybe no one is actually going to protest me making this change. Maybe it's just me who's stopping me. Like you said, if you can give yourself permission, then that means you are separating from yourself, actually being bigger than yourself. I call it getting over and getting under yourself. And that means you're around yourself, bigger than yourself, like a womb. You can be a womb or a cocoon for your own self, but you can also be that for the selves of others. But that's the piece that Mom says, please don't bring up yet. So you can be a cocoon or a womb for your own self. And that's what, spirituality arguably is all about, and therapy and healing. And
yeah, go ahead,
Mom.
So I want to bring up something that may take us on a tangent that I don't want to go, because this has to do with ourselves and others. Because how we score ourselves on these can be different than how somebody else looking at us would score it. And that's not something that we can kind of ignore. But how about just saying, okay, this is us doing it, but we could ask, a close friend, do you agree? Do I look like somebody who save a lot of money or teach or whatever? So it's like the best you can do to self, even if you need help from others.
This is day 5, the scorecard. And the question of the scorecard is, how many people do you give it to? You can give other people a scorecard to fill out for you, and you can
Okay,
fill out your own score if you want, but you don't have to.
that's cool. That's cool. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we did. So Anna, you said you got confused by this also, or no?
I think also this. Yeah, I don't. I'll present a series of proposals. Yeah, I guess I don't understand this sentence. Depending on what we decide is the minimum. Oh, okay. This is more like a note to ourselves in the parentheses.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, I think I'm good.
Okay. And so protests, I love protests. This is what I call opponent processing, where you show me where this is weak, where it's too complicated, where it's whatever, and we work with it and we massage it because we use your intuitions, your triggers, where things do and don't make sense, and we assume that you are our ideal audience. It's going to be people like you who we want to work with.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So how do we feel about redeeming judgment, rehousing judgment? If judgment has been orphaned and it has no home in our life, it doesn't know its place in our life, can we rehouse it? Is it causing trouble out there on the streets of our life because it doesn't have a home in our life? Can we give it a home? Can we give it a place, a shelf to put judgments? Like, this is what judgment does. This is where it lives in my life, and therefore be bigger than it, control it, contain it, and integrate it. This is like IFS, the judgment part, and AKA the assessment and classification of humans, right? This is that we're doing it anyway. We're classifying people, other selves, as well as our own selves. We're doing it. It's mostly subconscious, and we're just bringing it to consciousness with this presentation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think one thing we could just add is just to say the reason why we need to redeem or rehouse judgment is because it's just, taken a negative connotation, right? Like judgment as having maybe even a linked association with like scorn or contempt even, right? So that's like that word, when we hear the word judgment, for so many of us, it's going to elicit that reaction. And so what you're saying with it is that we're just trying to come back to a place of rehousing it into self-evaluation, self-reflection, and self-discernment.
Yes, we want to find the diamond in the dunghill because it has been neglected by us and by our whole culture at large. This idea that you can't change other people, you shouldn't judge other people. It's accumulated toxicity and gotten caught up with the wrong crowd.
But
and
then
we're
again, if we're just focusing on ourselves, right? If we're just taking away the other, that's the part where, again, I think self-evaluation, self-reflection is not new. Like it's not as taboo, right? It's like more so like, oh yeah, that is the work of therapy, for example, right? Like a lot of the work of therapy or self-improvement is that. So I don't know if it's as controversial, right?
And I would say that's on a spectrum. And so for the people, go ahead, please.
No, yeah, that's it.
I would say it's on a spectrum. I don't know. You know better than me because of your time with people. And then that's what I would say. In that case, no worries. If there's no toxicity associated with judging yourself, then there's no healing necessary there. Let's move on to where the healing is necessary. Maybe you need to reconcile your relationship with judging others.
Mhm.
You see, and then I would say actually, as a devil's advocate to what you said, there is a lot of m- um advice out
Mhm.
there saying you should not judge yourself.
Oh, maybe not. Yeah, well,
You
in the
see?
sense that, again, in the sense that are they using that word judgment as like self-criticism?
Right. And I would say, well, to push my point even further, there's actually a lot of content out there that says you should not try to make your life better. You should be grateful for what you have, and you shouldn't try for more.
Oh, I see.
And because
Mhm.
judgment is part of the pathway to becoming bigger, having more, being more powerful, it's all wrapped up in that same taboo or stigma that says you shouldn't do these things. You shouldn't play God.
I see. Yeah, I think I get what you mean with that, that it's like that bigger picture of like trying to change your life. So it's maybe we would say in certain areas more taboo than in other areas. And of course it's going to be super varied and complex, but um like for example, like being, how would you say, I don't know, gentler with, kinder to your spouse, or that kind of thing. Like we would all agree that that is the kind of self-reflection that's not taboo, right? And then maybe other kinds might be thought to be more taboo, like the whole like, oh, I need to make more money, like those kinds that are like related to those um topics that are more charged or have a more, like you said, maybe indoctrination of like check your privilege, for example. That could be an area that is more polarized, for example, just depending.
Yeah, so I would say the person is going to look within themselves and find where they feel guilty, where they feel ashamed, where they feel lack of innocence, where they feel insecure, low self-confidence, etc. And that may be in one or any of these different domains, and we're just mapping the domains out for people so that they can say, "Oh yeah, that's what's causing me pain in my life." And then I want to work on that, and then we go after it with clean stamina. So the field is wide open. That's why I said, the system is the same whether you talk about your own self or the selves of others. And at the end of the day, we're talking about healing, as opposed to traumatizing. Because so often we traumatize each other and ourselves just because we haven't come into contact with this material yet.
So how about
Gotcha.
adding to the end of the sentence, starting with ourselves?
Mm.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, if the focus is on ourselves, then
You can say starting so that it's
Perfect.
not the end of it.
I love it. That's perfect. Or you could say starting with yourself if that feels right.
Okay.
Whatever you want. I mean, we'll figure it out. Good?
Yeah, because like judge of character or judge of the life situation, like these are
that's true. Very different.
two different things, but I guess you address them with all your 1, 2, 3, 4 on the first page and with the scorecard. So those will come and we'll see what's what. Okay.
Can you say what you just said, or do you want me to repeat what you just said? Because I want to. I think there's something big here, but I'm not sure. I think if we nail what you just said down, we can really. It'll like improve the whole experience for everyone. Say what you're. Would you repeat what you said?
Yeah, I said if we're talking about judge of character is one
Okay.
thing,
Okay.
and the other is like judge of life situation, life status.
Right.
It, to me, is in like conditions of life.
Right. 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 Right.
I know they
Yeah.
impact each other, but it's like two
Right.
different sets of judgment to me.
Right, right, perfect, exactly. And so my point would be you can judge your own character, you can judge someone else's character, you can judge your own life conditions, you can judge someone else's life conditions, whatever you want to do. It's the same system. And the question is essentially, what are you going to do with that information? Right?
Okay.
If you're judging, I'm sorry.
Does the scorecard take us through both like in two different sections, or we don't know yet, right? The
I could
scorecard.
tell you the score. I could tell you the scorecard right now. You're all very familiar with it. It's a 5 by 3. It says physical, emotional, mental, financial, social, and then dependent, independent, dependable. And so you score yourself or you score others. This person is, for instance, and this is about incentives. A financially independent person is someone who doesn't have to work. They might work, but
Okay.
they don't have to. And
But
therefore
that's
they're
the
not,
scorecard. Yeah, I get the point. Okay.
I want to really, they're not incentivized because they've transcended that carrot and stick, right? If you go to work to make money, it's because you're incentivized by money and maybe you're not free of the need to make more.
Mm.
And you can do that in two ways. You make enough and decrease your living expenses, right? My vision for myself was to not have to work by living like within my means. And then Sarah came along and now our means are we're living, not as within my means as I might have, right? So potentially reaching financial independence might come later, right? That and then and you can run that for everyone: physically independent, emotionally independent, mentally independent, financially independent, socially independent. And it's the difference between feeling like you're a puppet where you're triggered easily and you're insecure because anything might happen to you at any time, and versus I don't care what happens because I'm independent. I'm free. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
And so this is like the spectrum of empowerment. As you become more powerful, physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, socially, more strong, whatever words you want to use, more capable, more in charge of what's happening.
Okay.
We call this self-control. So you have control over your body. That's good, but that's a matter of degree. And if you have urinary incontinence or you have a sleeping limb because you were sitting on the toilet for too long, you lose control of part of your body. And
Yeah.
emotional triggers that flood me are bigger than me by definition. Does that make sense? That neurohormonal state of being I lost my keys today and I was losing my shit, right? I was like panicking and all this kind of stuff. I became small. It shrunk me. The conditions were dominating me because I didn't have a backup plan, a redundant plan, a spare key and stuff like that. And so the scorecard, yeah, has a person reflect on, am I physically, emotionally, where are the ways in which I'm suffering? And the suffering is basically modeled in this model as going through a transition point, transitioning from being dependent to independent, or from independent to dependable, or back to dependent from dependable, because it's just a loop. It's a cycle that keeps going throughout your life. This is what it means to keep growing, is to go back to being a student after you become a master. Maybe you become a student in something else, but I'll leave it. I'll leave it there unless there's questions or.
I'm good.
All right, cool. So we're happy with this. And then lesson one, oh, sorry, I didn't make this. I didn't have time to make this animated. So is it okay if we just focus on lesson one and I can change it however you like, or explain each one and see if there's any protests to what I'm explaining?
One question before we move on. All of this is before Clean Stamina?
Well, it is a reflection of Clean Stamina. Okay, Clean Stamina is embedded in this.
Oh, is it? Oh, because yesterday in your text you said we are not doing Clean Stamina yet. We're
not
doing.
teaching it as a thing yet, because
But we
I
will.
think to anyone who wants, to anyone who wants.
It's like part of the program, right? Like in maybe module 4 or 5, does Clean Stamina come in as like a thing?
I think so. I think that's a good way to think of it. It's like there from the beginning because this whole thing is powered by Clean Stamina, as it were. Heart of Gold is powered by Clean Stamina, but I think you're right. I don't know when I introduced it as a thing. I wasn't thinking about it that way, but that's a good way to think of it. You're right, because that's the big program. Actually, that could be, this could be a 6-day or a 6-week program. Clean Stamina could be a 6-month program, for instance. And we can have, right? We can have a version of this for this is social, right? This is Heart of Gold. It's like judging people, being a good person, right? That's what this is about, bringing out the best in others, bringing out the best in ourselves, blah, 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 blah. But this says social, becoming socially more powerful in a way is what this teaches. This course here, Heart of Gold, becoming socially more powerful, making people love you more, becoming more attractive, popularity contest, etc., while still being true to yourself. But then we're going to have a money one, a mind one, emotion one, and a body one, if the demand is there. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Okay. So, should we do lesson one?
Yes.
And the model is that each one of these lessons, the whole module, and then each of these lessons is going to subvert a currently held indoctrination. Okay, a currently held nuance that slows us down and makes us doubt ourselves, and replace it with common sense, and then add the nuance back to it so that that thirst or hunger is sated. And if you don't know what I mean, I'll show you for sure.
That's one thing I'm wondering. I'm just keeping my eye on the time and thinking if, for myself, I'll probably have to go in like half an hour max. And then, I was just wondering if you guys are open to this, that, to go over the modules themselves before going into each lesson.
I love it. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right.
Fun.
Say it again.
Yeah, instead of going into each one, because I can guess that by the time we get there, we might not have gotten through if
That's
there's
great.
4 lessons for each one. Yeah,
I think that's genius. I think that's genius. Okay, so we'll basically sign off or green light each module first, and then we'll sign off and green light in subsequent meetings the lessons within the module.
yeah, if that works for you guys too, if that like makes sense.
100%. Of
I like
course.
that.
Genius. No, I'm so glad you said it. Okay, so we're happy with module 1. Yeah. Okay, module 2, judgments, best practices. So this is where polyvagal comes in. How are you orienting? How are you basically 2 things, I think. How are you judging people? Like, what's the system you're using? Does it include quantitative and qualitative? Does it include subjective and objective? Well, I mean, do you have a system for judging people or not? And then what's your intention or your agenda, or where are you orienting from as you're judging them? So I think that's going to be what module 2 basically is. Do we think that's okay?
Yep.
Mhm.
So the first one is getting people used to the idea of judging and turning people on to it, like, hey, it's actually not such a bad thing to judge, blah, blah, blah. 2 is, okay, if you're going to do it well, these are best practices according to, us, in the lives that we've led, and we can tell stories about judgment and about how, it's improved our lives to be able to be good judges of character, or how we've suffered in the past, for instance, because of being poor judges of character, how people have disappointed us, how we've suffered in the past by lacking character ourselves, lacking integrity ourselves, whatever, right? So that's module 2. Any thoughts or?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Module 3,
Yes.
the mechanical mind, how triggers work and how to leverage these forces of nature. So this is about triggers. It's about how emotions are tied to thoughts, and about how when something doesn't meet our expectations, we get disappointed. That's called disappointment. But when something exceeds our expectations, that's called gratitude. When we're disappointed, we feel pressure build up within us. When we feel gratitude, we feel release or relief or depressurization. So we're grateful when things exceed our expectations. We get more support than we were expecting or thought we needed. But then when we get less support, then we get disappointed or traumatized or betrayed, and we feel pressure. All right, so that's sort of bird's eye view of this. You like it? It's okay?
So triggers could be positive or negative?
Right, because triggers are I mean, it's usually used negatively, like most things, like the word manipulate, usually used mechanically. I mean,
Yeah.
negatively, and
Yeah.
that's part of what we're going to be focused. It's our negativity bias, which you like talking about, right? A negativity bias means that most words have actually turned into bad words:
Right.
rich, powerful, successful, influential. I mean, triggers, manipulation. It's like, what am I supposed to even do anymore in the world? Smart, elite, performance. It's really crazy. It's really interesting. Um, that's just performative. When someone says that's performative, they mean it's superficial, right? So performance, anyways. But yeah,
Anyway, okay.
so triggers could be good or bad. They're just automatic, mechanical.
Right. Okay.
They're about a
Okay.
threshold. They have to do with a threshold. A trigger is always about a threshold. And in our nervous systems, depending on what side of a threshold or expectation some event falls on, we are automatically either basically made happy or sad,
Okay.
feeling safe or threatened.
I'm ready
You know,
for 4.
what do you think, Anna?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm just trying to make sure I am connecting the thread from modules 1 and 2.
Got it.
No, I think I can understand how it all ties together. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And part of it, I will say, to your exact point, is that this is like the subconscious. Expectations live in the subconscious, and then something happens, and we're either upset or happy with it. And we don't usually think, oh, this met my expectations, so I'm happy. This fell below my expectations, so I'm upset. We're just like, this is bad, or this is good. We're usually on that level of relating to events in the world. And so, but those are judgments. Triggers are judgments because they are, they're the symptoms of judgments. When we're judging something as falling below or rising above our expectations. And we do that with people, with ourselves, with events, with our car, with our dog, with our cat.
Yeah, it sounds like I think what I can ascertain from this is that it's leveraging these forces of nature is like using them, like kind of folding into like the scorecard and everything, right? Like using them to then aid our evaluation of ourselves, right? So like saying if something fell below my expectations or above, then I'm going to use that as part of my evaluation of myself, essentially.
Exactly. It's data. It's data. Exactly. This is how we become people who don't shoot the messenger. And this is how we become messengers who don't get shot. When we have this understanding of bad news as good data, we become more sober when we get bad news, including the news of, oh, I don't approve of my own actions, or including the news of, oh, they don't approve of my actions, and including the news of, I don't approve of their actions, and including the news of they don't approve of their own actions. So see how I did all 4 there? These are judgments that are right now not in very articulated or well understood or illuminated or enlightened or conscious forms. They're below the surface. And so most conversations are relatively low quality, especially as the conflict level rises. As the conflict level rises, the quality of the conversation tends to go down. But that's exactly when we need to have the highest quality conversations, when we're in conflict with each other.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like when we're agreeing with each other, that's when conversations are the best. But that's when we don't need them to be the best. Is when we disagree with each other that this comes in handy. This is where the healing and the decreasing toxicity and all that stuff comes in. We become bigger than the situation without becoming pushovers, or stand up for ourselves without becoming bullies. Okay, module 4. So getting over, under, and all around yourself. Approval and displeasure, forgiveness and healing. So one thing I wanted to bring up as you were talking on that last slide was attraction. The law of attraction is something we hear a lot about. Have you heard about the law of attraction?
Yeah, but I think I need a refresher on that actually.
So there's basically Have you heard of blue pill and red pill?
Also a little hazy in my memory.
Well,
Me.
it's perfect relationship. I'm going to give you two sayings and then the blue pill version and the red pill version of each. So blue pill is basically like a comfortable sedative, lowering your almost like how can I put it? Thinking everything is fine. Blue pill is like, thinking everything is fine, everything's going to be okay. In in the Matrix where it originated, the idea was you go back to sleep into the Matrix, whereas the
Mhm,
red pill keeps you outside of it.
mhm.
And outside of it is less pleasant, right? It's less pleasant when you wake up, but
Mm.
when you're awake, you have more power than when you're
Okay.
asleep.
Blue pill, like complacency, comfort zone. Red pill is nudging yourself towards change, challenge in a way that's supportive and healthy.
And the reason that this program is going to be so revolutionary is that right now, red pill stuff is almost exclusively the domain of misogynistic, misogynistic manosphere kind of hype alpha male toxic masculinity communities.
Mm.
So red pill is like, grow up, stop being a baby, blah blah blah. It's relatively like, hard edged, blunt,
Mm.
that kind of thing, you
I
know?
see, but
S-
like
Yeah,
in the narrow realm of therapy modalities, for example, or um let's just stick with those for now. Like it's not that way, right? But that's like in a very niche area that many are not exposed to, right? The challenging ourselves, and doing so from a MSC lens or an SE lens, right? Like those modalities actually really encourage us to challenge ourselves. That it's not at all misogynistic. It's not at all kind of like aggro male energy, right? But like so many people aren't exposed to that.
exactly. And if they think that the only form of challenging yourself is that alpha aggro toxic, then they miss out on this whole landscape of how we can challenge each other with love. We can judge each other with love. And that's what stamina stands for, success through admiration, mutually inspired, non-accusatory. I admire the people who I can push. I admire the people who can push me, but we don't need to become violent and accusatory in so doing.
So you're gonna do it in a way so you don't undermine trauma and things like that.
Exactly. Okay, so the two sayings are the golden rule. You've heard of the golden rule?
Not me, no.
It's the blue pill version is treat others how you want to be treated. Got it?
The blue pill is okay.
The blue pill version of the golden rule is treat others how you want to be treated.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The red pill version is the person who has the gold makes the rules. So that's a little more tough. It's a little bit more of a reality check, but it's just a different golden rule. You can look up both of these golden rules online right now.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Similarly, oh no, what do you think? Is that stick or is that
Sure. I think I'm not seeing the connection. I'm not seeing
so
module 4.
so well we were talking about law of attraction.
Mhm.
I brought up law of attraction in response to you talking about judgment. And when we're judging each other, one of the things we're judging is, am I attracted to this person, to this thing, to this city, to this car? So attraction is one of the fundamental drivers of judgment. One of the things that we judge people on is the symptom of admiration of someone is that we're attracted to them.
Mhm.
And so that's when I brought up law of attraction.
Mhm.
And the blue pill version of law of attraction is think happy thoughts and good things will happen. Okay. But the red pill version is the more attractive you are, the more safe, powerful, influential you are. When people are attracted to you, you have influence. That's the red pill version of the law of attraction.
So the
So, yeah,
secret is the blue version, blue pill version, the movie.
exactly. The movie The Secret is more the blue pill version of the law of attraction, which doesn't work, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like for lazy, basically people who just want to think happy thoughts and hope that things get better. And
Okay.
I fit into that category. I mean, that's actually directly connected to the dark side of gratitude, where someone says you should be grateful because of everything you have. Don't ask for more. Just be happy with what you have. And then things will get better by you doing that. That's the second piece of it. That's usually left out. But the idea is things will get better if you just have gratitude for what you already have. And that's just step one. That in clean stamina or in science, step one is being okay with how things are, coming to peace with how things are, or going from dependent to independent in this system. Going from dependent to independent in this model on this scorecard is to become okay with how things are, including the bad stuff, rise above it, and then work on it. Rise above it, and then turn back around and work on it. That's the model. So you have yourself, you rise above yourself, but if you just stay there, that's spiritual bypass. But if you turn back around and then look at yourself, judge yourself, work on yourself, that's not spiritual bypass. That's spiritual self-improvement, spiritual success. So you go from like the puppet that's just being pulled by strings and your buttons are being pushed to getting sick of that. Once you're sick of that, once you say, I don't want to be emotionally dependent, I don't want to be so easily triggered, I don't want people to be able to hurt me so easily because they're yelling at me or because they're telling me I need to hurry, because this happens to me every day. People are telling me I'm not going fast enough, or I need to do something differently, or why'd you hang that medication? Like, it's constant, And so for me, I've had to stop caring, essentially come to peace with rejection, even like micro rejection, right? Someone rolls their eyes at me, I have to not care because I would never, nothing would happen, right? That the patient would die if So I don't know if this is all making sense. Am I keeping it? I'm trying to keep it tight. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I think you lost me a little bit, but let's think back to, I think I could link it back. Approval and displeasure, forgiveness and healing. So this is about coming back to the sense of complacency versus the sense of evaluating oneself, right?
Yes, exactly. And complacency would be not evaluating oneself, saying things are fine as they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, I understand, because we haven't unpacked the lessons within each module. So I know we might not be quite getting everything, but I guess I'm not certain yet how this module offers something different than what's already been offered in modules 1 to 3. What's different about this one?
I think if you saw the lessons, that would become more clear. But it's possible there's nothing new here. Let's see. What I like about this is the visual of getting over yourself, getting under yourself, like understanding yourself, or even undermining yourself, getting under yourself. This is also, Zarijin taught me this. Surrender means to go above. In French, sur means above. Surrender actually means to go above the thing, the rendering. And submission means to go below the mission. Does that make sense? So giving up, which is actually a big...
Similar to understand.
Exactly. All those words, they all have, especially if you do them at the same time, which is what we're going to help people do, they actually give you the visual and even oftentimes for me, the experience of being bigger than myself, getting outside of myself, getting over myself, talking about myself does this actually. It's probably might be one of the reasons people like talking about themselves. You feel bigger than yourself when you're telling the narrative of your story or filling out your resume or whatever. Because you see what I'm saying?
So sorry, can you take us back to module 3 really quick so I can remember what that one's about? Okay, leverage the forces of nature triggers. Module 4 is more so about getting over yourself, under yourself. Okay.
In a way, I'm a bundle of triggers, a bundle of conditions, a bundle of conditioning, a bundle of nerves, a bundle of quivering nerves. That's the magic of each of us. Each of us is a bundle of quivering nerves. Each of us is a nervous system. Each of us is essentially a nervous system. The memories in there, the reactions, how the nerves are plugged into the muscles, our social status overlaps with our neurohormonal status, whether you're feeling like a leader or a follower, a loser or a winner. These are all like happening in our nervous system, essentially. And so
okay. That part I'm with you on. Yeah, I think all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like just go back and forth between all the modules and just make sure I understand how they all connect to each other and then how they're different from each other, like kind of get the full flow of it all. So
exactly. And I think actually one thing that'll help, I think I've been neglecting this as we did this, is that format that I described of the Mythbuster format, where we identify what currently held indoctrinated, not common sense belief is stopping most people, and then how this is a common sense belief that's actually like embedded into all of our vocabulary. If you look at it this way, and it's like neurolinguistic programming, you see that our mental models are all embedded in our vocabulary. And so talking about understanding yourself it's not just random. It means something. Getting over yourself, it means something. And so what I want to say is the question of do we need each of these modules, or what is this module doing that the other modules are not doing, can be found in the contrast of the indoctrinated, currently commonly held belief contrasted to this common sense, intuitive belief. So, for instance, this one, it's the opposite. Is the mind is not mechanical. It's not predictable. The mind is not predictable. The mind, look, you're in meditation. Who knows what you're going to think? Like, yeah, that we understand that, but then it's like, what is personality? A person's personality is simply their mechanical mind and their emotions working. When you're in contact with me and I'm in contact with you, the way you know, oh, this is normally how Kaveh acts, it's because I'm mostly on autopilot. Most of us are most of the time on autopilot, physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, socially, and morally. And so what we're doing is essentially taking something off autopilot and seeing that most of the time it is on autopilot and mechanical. So the alternative to this is the mind's not mechanical. You shouldn't think of it that way. That's offensive, blah, blah, blah. And then we're saying maybe it's okay to think about it that way. Module 4 is you cannot do this, right? The opposite of this is you cannot get over yourself. You cannot get under yourself. You cannot get around yourself. That you're stuck in yourself. You cannot be bigger than yourself. That's a commonly held idea. I can't control myself. I can't control myself. And this is saying, no, you can control yourself. You can control your.
That you're using the intervention is the myth busting. So sort of like saying this is the myth, and this is how we're going to challenge that in each module.
And what price you're paying for that current myth, and how you'll benefit and profit from this new common sense perspective that is contrast to the myth.
Is the Mythbuster included in the lesson right now?
Yeah, we'll design it that way.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. No, we'll design it that way so people see the structure of what we're doing. That each module has a myth that it's undermining, and then each of the lessons also has a myth it's undermining. So we're replacing the surface of the table and the legs
Mm.
with a whole new table and new legs. If you don't like that metaphor, no worries. We'll find another one.
How's Anna doing with this? You have a little frown from what I can see.
No, it's just me trying to make sure I'm understanding everything. And I'm just thinking about when we think about a program that we're offering, right? We think about a tool that people benefit from. So sometimes we've done, acronyms or 3 tips, and like Clean Stamina is an acronym, right? Where there's somewhat of a structure in place. So I'm trying to think if there's enough of a structure here so that people feel like they walk away from it with a tool that they can apply to each area. And it sounds like you might even be getting there with the scorecard, for example, right? Like something where they have a concrete tool that they're putting to use here to then kind of like try it out on the problem at hand and then see what the result ends up being.
What you
Exactly.
just said
Exactly.
made me think of something, which is the Mythbuster can have like a self-evaluation afterwards. Like, where are you in being busted?
How much do I still believe the old thing? How much do I believe the new thing? And what are my arguments against the new thing and for the old thing?
Yeah, yeah, that can be a really nice self-reflection journal with like a
Okay.
worksheet.
That's worksheet. Yeah. No, because I mean, I have some very direct things I can say and will say, but most people oftentimes can't understand it until something like this has, as you said, been made grounded in example in life. And the person is convinced of certain things. Like one thing I'll say is that reality is not solid. It's liquid. It's changing. It's fluid. Reality is actually probabilistic. And this gets into Anna's energy work. It's actually vibrational. Reality is vibrating and therefore changing, but we have the illusion of it being solid and unchanging, which leads to a fixed mindset, which makes us feel hopeless, as if what's happened can't be changed and it's just going to repeat itself into the future. And there's no hope for us. So we'll talk about that. And I know it's like like a bold statement, but there's a way to do this thing that we're saying with the myth busting and disentangling all this that makes what I just said like obvious, that reality is changing probabilistically, and that's our nature, that we can intercede or interject in reality. Everything is adjustable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking my time. I've got a few minutes left, so I'm down to personally to
Right?
get to my 5 and 6. But let me know
Yeah,
what you
module
think.
5 is just a validated scorecard. It's called a validated scorecard that covers most of what matters. So
Okay.
there might be stuff that it doesn't cover, but I don't think people are going to. We challenge people to find stuff that's not in the scorecard, doesn't have a home in this system. When you look at the physical, emotional, mental, financial, social, and moral, how we grade each other, how attracted we are to each other, based on it's not just is a person dependent, independent, or dependable. Remember, we're talking about flow. It is a person transitioning, changing, evolving during their life, going from dependent to independent to dependable, back to dependent. That's more than being at one place on the scorecard. What we like to see is improvement. We like to see that a person is growing. There's something intrinsically revitalizing and refreshing about seeing someone, and again, ourselves, forget other people, seeing ourselves growing, feeling ourselves becoming stronger physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, socially, or morally, and then knowing how that's happening and knowing, oh wow, I did this thing or this thing happened and I became stronger. That's candle and bonfire. And there's that's a flow that usually is considered to be just subjective, but we're going to make it both subjective and objective.
Okay.
Okay. And then module 6 is just go where others probably won't go. to get what others probably won't get. And this is not for everyone. Some people will be turned off by certain words we use as hard as we try. And so this is for the minority. This is for, you could say exceptional people, people who are freaks of nature, right? Self-help junkies and self-improvement nerds, like we said at the very beginning. This is for a certain kind of person who is not satisfied with their status quo and is not satisfied with waiting for other people to change the status quo for them, but people who want to play God, who want to just play along with the idea that they can control reality and just see how far they get. And so you don't have to do this. We love you even if you don't. But if you want to buy this, or if you want to sign up for our calendar, or you want to, that's how we say working with us. Most people won't do it, but some people will, and we only want to work with people who want to work with us. So life as an adventure. Go where others probably won't go to get what others probably won't get.
So they might go up to module 5 and then do clean stamina next, skip module 6.
I'll ask you that in a second. What were you asking, Anna?
Oh, I was just saying, and so the purpose of this is to entice people to sort of almost like make it feel a little, not exclusive, but like a sense of like, we're inviting you to do something pretty unique here. Most people won't do it. Kind of like filter people out almost, essentially. Kind of, it
100%.
feels like it has a tone to it. It's like, hey, if you're not
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it,
it's a call, exactly. It's a call to action. It's a call to action, so the people who want to do it know exactly what to do next.
Mhm.
It's a kind of forcing function or a squeeze. It's a forcing function or a squeeze, and it says, let's get to the other side of this. Let's get to the other side of, right now we're not working together. Let's get to the point where we are working together. That takes a few steps. And so let's take those steps if you want to. I don't think what you said, Mom. I think that everyone will see Module 6. This is the end of the program. This is the end of the lesson. And then the people who want to follow up, book a time on the calendar. Huh?
You're asking about clean minimum. I'm wondering where that goes in.
Yeah.
Where that
What
fits
were
in.
you saying? Yeah. What were you saying, Mom?
So clean stamina is close to people who don't want to do 6, module 6.
Module 6, everyone does. Everyone does Module 6. And then they decide based on Module 6 if they want, because this is like a $20 course. This is a $20, $30 course. I don't know. We could talk about pricing. And then if they want to do more because they're moved by how we're thinking, they're moved by these words, and they trust us fundamentally. They feel the small wins. They actually see themselves doing better, being less insecure, feeling like there's more hope for them after this $20 course. This is a reminder that they can control more of their own life.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's this whole course, this $20 course, is a reminder that they can control more of their own life. And then to take it deeper, because it's so, or you could tell me, maybe the heart of gold, actually, the outcome is that they have less mixed feelings about their own triggers and judgments of others. I think that's decent. What do you think of that? Less mixed feelings about their triggers and judgments of others. They know they're more at peace with those things, with their triggers and judgments of others. This is for people who right now are like sick of being triggered, sick of, waiting for others to change or disapprove. Does that make any sense? Like based on everything you've heard today, what would you say is what Heart of Gold is promising?
I come back to the module 2 with the Heart of Gold and the polyvagal you mentioned, which can be a changing
And related to that, I would also say the person will experience themselves being more forgiving, more understanding, but in a way that gives them more power, not less. Because people are concerned, oh, if I forgive them, they're going to just keep abusing me. And our point is, no, if you actually forgive them, that means you don't need them anymore. You're actually lowering your expectations of people because, as Anna said, when the unconditional in Anna sees the conditional in someone else, it's easy. It's what Anna said, unconditional forgiveness, even someone who hurt me, even to a racist. That's the flavor that my vision is to deliver a taste of through Heart of Gold. Does that make sense, Anna? Like the insights
So,
that you said are actually like what I would say this will precipitate for people. Everything is adjustable. I get unconditional love, and I can see myself growing my forgiveness even for people who have hurt me. I can see how that makes me more powerful, actually, keeps me centered, keeps my power at home rather than in others, and that makes me more attractive. That makes me more attractive. The people I admire are XYZ people who have patience, patient people who um, emotionally stable, right? It's almost like emotional stability, mental stability, etc. How much control we can have over those things in our own lives and in the lives of others. I mean, sorry, not others' lives, just our own lives.
yeah, I think we're somewhere with this. Yeah, I wonder if we can think about our next steps. I'm gonna go now to go get ready for Kazi's awakening. Getting some milk ready. But what do we think feels good for next steps? I mean, sounds like getting into the lessons is going to help. But yeah, any thoughts from you
Sure.
guys, Mom?
Yeah, going into the lessons.
Doing that format of the Mythbusters so people know
Yes.
exactly, like you said, what current belief they actually hold and what price they're paying for it, and how this new belief will actually be freeing them or will profit them to buy what we're selling, both monetarily but also intellectually. We're trying to sell something. We're trying to sell a point, a worldview.
Yeah, so the lessons, you have something you were going to show us, but they're not in the Mythbuster format. So next time when we get together, you're gonna do both, or you're just gonna do the Mythbuster format, which seems to be more effective.
What's the other thing besides the Mythbuster format?
The whatever you had to show us today that we skipped over.
I mean, that's going to have to stay because that's the actual conclusion point. And it
Okay.
just gets to make it Mythbuster format, you just add on the myth.
Okay, so we
Right.
reviewed what you have.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
right.
So
Okay.
for instance, what is a role model, right? And then the opposite is there's no such thing as a role model, or no one needs a role model, or you know what I mean? Like reclaim words
Okay.
like handle and manipulate. Okay, manipulate's a bad word. You can't manipulate people. I don't want to use that word. I want to control people. That's the opposite of this, right? Reclaiming words like judgment, handle, manipulate. Because
So
the
what
opposite,
if, yeah, whenever the next meeting is, if you can have insert the Mythbuster format, so we don't do this first and then go back to Mythbuster. Because if they go hand in hand, we can follow better, I think.
absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'll make
Yeah.
both the modules themselves and the lessons under them all in Mythbuster format.
Oh,
Yeah, and
I
like you
like
said,
that.
well, and the big myth is you don't have control over your life. That's the big myth. And we're introducing, and you shouldn't judge. You should be grateful. Check your privilege. You shouldn't judge. You should be grateful. That's the big myth that you don't deserve. You don't something like you don't deserve more than what you already have or whatever. or you're not meant for anything more than what who you already are. You know, you cannot become more powerful. You should not try. Blah blah blah. That's sort of, you can't be trusted with more power. That's kind of like the myth.
We can unpack more.
That sounds really good.
I have one last question before Anna goes. Maybe we don't have the answer, but just to pose the question, or maybe we do have. You know what the 4 stages of
Unconscious,
competence?
conscious. Yeah.
Competence. 4 stages of competence. It sounds like your dot or your avatar is at stage 2, meaning conscious incompetence.
Perfect. Perfectly said.
The reason I ask is that with me personally, I was at unconscious incompetence, and you worked on me, to get me to conscious incompetence. Blah, blah, blah. But for this course, you want people to already be aware and have a complaint and voice their complaint. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say that the people who are unconscious incompetent are the ones who both have a complaint and are like ashamed of their complaint, or don't see how valuable their complaint is.
Or they're
And
so
so,
numb that they really don't have a complaint. So that's not your avatar. Your avatar is at stage 2 of competence.
yeah, well, I mean, again, yeah, sure, we could do different ads to different kinds, but like for instance, the person who is in denial of their insecurity, someone who goes, "I'm not insecure," that person
That's
is
stage
in
1.
that's stage 1. Exactly. The person
Stage
who's in denial or numb to their own insecurity, their own fragility, or trying to justify it or whatever, is essentially protecting it. Anyone who's protecting their insecurity and their fragility by either denying it or by saying there's nothing you can do about it, and then the next step is, it's actually a good thing.
The course is not to get them from 1 to 2. It's to really help with. Anna, what is you using right now? iPhone or laptop?
I'm using laptop.
Can you take your laptop to Kazi's room so we see how cute he is when he wakes
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh
Would
my
that
God,
work?
thank you.
Oh
So
my
lucky.
God. He is
Okay,
like
get his milk ready first then. You know how he needs his milk when he wakes up.
Yeah, he has to have his milk right
Maybe
away.
I'll pause the recording so that you don't have, because some people are sensitive about having their baby on the internet, which I think is reasonable.
The whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
So he's like, okay.
He's always what?
No, he's just very cute when he wakes up, like babies. Okay, so this was, oh, and then I was looking at your elevator pitch. So we can, said, got a complaint, we can work with that. Join us to learn a fun step-by-step game you can play alone or with, it says with others, you can say, or with us. And then it says to quickly, this rest of it is like too general, to quickly turn your dreams into realities and to make your nightmares fade away.
Okay.
Because of the things about the dot and the specificity, you say like
Too general.
Find a solution to your complaint and then on to the next complaint, or something that you had said before was more on the point. That was my feedback to the thing. Yeah, this is great.
Okay, great. Should we just go over some lessons, or you guys are you guys done with it?
I think it's good to have Anna with the lessons. So
Sounds good.
yeah. Did you find your keys?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's good. How's your recording? Okay. So
I can stop recording if you want to talk about something else.
I
We're
think,
gonna talk about something.
I think the course we want to continue with. I guess Rasa will listen to it, hopefully.
Sure.
Catch up,
Okay.
and then we can continue when we're all there again.